I'm ashmail12.com, and in this video I'm going to show you the basics of a PHP object orientated class. Now bear in mind this is the basics and there is a lot more that you can do with these classes, but this is just something to get you up and running with a class and to start creating some of your own little programs, I suppose. So the third thing we're going to do is actually just come into PHP and actually if I just go to here, just to show you the file structure of object orientated. It's not always like this, but this is the way me personally I like to work with it. So in here basically we have all your files, what you use. So index.php is, you know, the main one, the first page it will go to, the home page basically. Anyway, that's where all your files go. Then usually, or what I like to do is have a folder called classes. Then in here will be all the classes that we're going to work with. So in here I have created a person class. It is actually just saved as a normal PHP. There's nothing different about how it's saved. However, generally you usually save classes with a capital letter rather than a lowercase letter as you would do for normal files. You don't have to do this. PHP or anything's not going to shout at you to say, hang on, this is wrong, it should be capital. It's not going to stop you, it's just going to work fine. But it's just the how could I put it, just the most common way people do this. So that's that. And in classes, so as you can see, here's the index of PHP, nothing in it yet, just a blank page with some PHP tags that we want to fill in. And in person.php, just like last one, just PHP tags with nothing in. Okay, so first of all, we're not going to touch index.php as of yet. We're just going to work on the class. So first of all, to start a class, basically you need the tags, and then you put in class and then your class name. Now typically the class name is generally the file name as well, with the capital letter, so person, and then you have your opening curly brackets. Now once you get to start more advanced, you can put on here extends and then another class, or implements another class to get more functions, and you know, to make classes more advanced. But for now this is very basic, so we're just going to have a class on its own that does stuff independent of itself basically. Now first thing that classes do, I suppose, is initialize variables. So you can call them public variables, you can have them as private variables. You can see how the colours change and see how I'm typing it incorrectly. And there is protected variables. Now for this tutorial and for most other scripts that you will write, most of the time they will be private. However, public should be rarely used. Public is a security risk basically, or is potentially a security risk, and you should rarely use public, well, never really, apart from testing purposes and whatnot. Protected, occasionally used if you want. Protected is used basically if you want something, a class, another class that implements or extends. I think it's extends. I'm not quite sure. If you want one of them classes to be able to get access to the variable, basically, but most of the time it'll be private. Don't worry about that. So we're going to create a private and then the variable that you want. So I'm going to put in name here. Now if you want another variable, you can just copy and paste this down and say age there. However, you can, if you want them all to be the same, you can just put a comma here and put in age there, and that will eliminate that. So that's another way you can create. So there's two ways basically which you can initialize your variables, but depending on how you do it, most of the time it will be private, like I said. at the moment, if you're just learning out, stick with private, and then once you start getting more advanced, you can start using protected, and public, like I said, rarely used. So the first thing you do is to build a constructor now. Now you don't have to build a constructor, it's just this is something that happens that will always run when you create a new object. Like I said, you don't have to start with a constructor. If you don't want anything to run once you create the object, that's fine, you don't need a constructor. But most of the time, generally there will be some kind of constructor, especially with something like this, what we're going to do, because we need to initialize or instantiate these variables to actually give them a value. So to create functions, basically, you type in function, public. Now this is different than this one up here. You can have private in here again, but most of the time functions like this will be public, otherwise you cannot get access to them outside the class, which for a constructor sounds a bit stupid really. So then you have your function, so we're going to create a function. Now to create a constructor, you put 2 underscores, so that is 2 underscores. Don't ask me why it's 2 underscores, I don't know, it just is. If you really want to know why it's 2 underscores, then I don't know, Google it. And then you just put construct. Let's spell that right. Construct, yeah, mustn't change on Dreamweaver. And then you have your brackets, and then your curly brackets like that. So that basically, whatever's in here now will run every time a new object's created, or every time you create a new object. Now you can pass it variables in here, which we're going to do. So we want to pass it to the name and the age. So every time we create a new object, we want a name and an age to be provided. That's basically what this is doing. Now to save these, you basically just don't go name equals name. Obviously you can't do that. If you put something like new, can't type, new name, name equals new name, potentially that will work, but that's not really how object oriented programs should be used. Basically, keep it name. Then what you do, if you want to set a field variable, you type this, you put a dash and a greater than symbol, and it gives you like a little arrow, and then this will give you all the field variables. If it doesn't come up if you're using Notepad++ or the standard Notepad, it probably won't come up with these, so I'm just going to get rid of that just to show you. And then basically you type in the variable name that you want to change, so we're going to change name, and then you can do your name just like that. Now you may have seen it where these have underscores in front of them, and then with this, to be honest, actually, sorry, I made a mistake here. This here, you don't need the dollar sign there. Okay, so now back to where I've got these underscores. You may have seen it with these underscores, and you need the underscore here. You don't exactly need them. Like I said, you can have it without. Me personally, I like it without, but it's just a way of differentiate, making a difference. Basically, it's to distinguish what is a field variable and what is not. So by putting underscore in front of field variables, you can clearly see that if you want to change this name, you can clearly see that this is a field variable, basically. Okay, so that's that, and we can basically just, but like I said, you don't need them, it's just a way, it's your personal choice of what you want. So we're just going to do the same for age now. Okay, so every time a person class is created, we need to pass it a name and an age, and that's good. It will set them and do nothing basically. So now we're going to create what is generally in PHP or in object-oriented programming, sorry, because it's not just PHP, it's what we call getters or accessor methods. Generally they're called getters and setters rather than mutators and accessors, but most of the time you'll hear it as getters and setters. So to do this, we use public function again, and to get, generally you put get in front of it, and then what do we want to get? The name. So basically all we do is just like above this name. Well, what do we want to do with it? We want to return it. Okay, and that's basically it. That's it. That's all you do for getters. So public function get age, return this age. Okay, that's it. And now you want to if you want to add some setters or mutator methods, if you rather call it mutators, basically the same header, public function, but this time you do set name. Actually I'm not going to do name because generally your name does not change. You can however put name in it because it's just general practice to put getters and setters for all variables, but I'm just going to leave a name out for now. And to do this, basically set age requires a new age to be provided, and you just do this wrong way around, this age equals and the age passed, and that's it. Okay, and one last function that we're going to create in here is a public function show details. And this will basically, all this will do is echo out some stuff to the user. So we're going to put this in some p tags. I want to say name, and we're just going to concatenate the name. Now you can, however, if you choose, you can use this get name that we provided up there. That will work. It'll do exactly the same thing. Once again, it's just your personal preference to how you want to code this. Me personally, I like to use this name because generally anything inside a class it doesn't exactly pose a security risk as such in its own class, if you know what I mean. Like, the reason we put get name and get age is if we want to get these from outside the class. If you want to get something from inside the class, you can use this and the field variable name perfectly fine. It's not gonna, do anything really. That's just the way I like to do it. You can use get name. It doesn't matter. So now I'm going to just put a break on there and add one for the age. So once again, I'm just going to concatenate this age, and that's it. Okay, so that is our basic class that is now set up. Show detail is basically something I've just put in myself, but these are generally ones that you will always have no matter what. Getters and setters should always be there. Constructors don't have to be, but generally they are. Just something that runs every time the object is run. You don't need to put passive variables. You can just have a constructor on its own with no variables in it, and then it will do something here. Maybe call a function to set the name. It'll pop up a box or something. I don't know. That's more Java type. But anyway, that's basically a simple person class set up. So now in index.php, what we need to do is require or include, or whatever you want to do. I prefer to use require classes /person.php. Okay, and then to actually create this object, you need to put it into a variable. So I'm going to put it into a variable called person, since this is a person class. and you put new person. Okay, now remember this is the constructor, so we need to give it values here, because if I just save this out and if I just show you what happens, as you can see here, missing argument 1 for person construct, missing argument 2, and these variables are now undefined because we've not given them any values. So basically what it's saying is we need to use them, you need to pass it something. Now generally you will, if something like this, you'll pass it through a form, and then you will put in the name and the age in there through a form. But since I'm just going to skip that part out, I'm just going to put them in like this. So I'm just going to put Ash, and my age is 21. Okay, so now if we save this down and refresh, we get a blank page because no errors. It's created the object and it's done its thing, and that's it. Okay, so now what we need to do is actually do something to actually get this. So if I just do person, and to actually use the class, we basically type in the person variable, or the variable that you created. You put the little arrow again, and then in here is basically all your functions that you created. So say if we want to show the details, we just put show details, and because we had the echo in here, it will just automatically show details. So if I just refresh, we get the details printed out right there. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is put in person.setAge. Now setAge requires a variable, remember, so well, it requires something to be passed through. So I'm just going to say my birthday was yesterday and I want to change it. Generally this will do it automatically, but you know, just generally speaking, say I've just recently changed to 22, that will change it. And then if we just copy and paste this down here, we will see how now my age has been changed to 22. This is the first lot we printed out, and then we changed the name in between this, the age, sorry, and then we printed out the details again, and as you can see that it's changed. So one last thing we're going to do is to use the get. So if you don't want to, if you just want to get specific stuff, so we want to get the name and the age independently of each other, we don't want a full show details, we just say we just want to get the age, we basically just do, if I just put this in paragraph tags just to space this out again, we basically just do person get. Bear in mind that this is in the echo as well, so get name. Okay, and if we copy and paste that down for get age and refresh, that should get the age, well, my name and my age independently of each other. And so basically what we can do is my age equals person get age. Okay, now that is then stored in a variable called my age, so we can basically just do that, my age, and essentially that will do exactly the same thing. So basically this was just it wasn't really short, it's gone to nearly 20 minutes now, but it's basically just an introduction to PHP object orientated programming, just so you can understand the basics of how to get a class working and how to use the functions you create in that class. This video is not really meant for anything to go out on the web, you know, it's very basic. So like I said, it will work, it works, but this is basically just something to get you started, in practicing coding in OOP. And yeah, that's basically it's just basically a starting point for you. So probably in the next video I'll probably show you how to create a simple calculator using OOP. For me it is a bit, actually I'll talk about that in the video. So thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.